Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's morning report with me, Rich Perry, market analyst at Handtech Markets on Tuesday the 27th of January. The European trading session has got off to a fairly weak start, nothing too significant. Considering certainly the gains that we've seen in recent days, there might just be an element of profit taking, but I would say that there is a slight turnaround in sentiment. Just looking across the board, pretty much, there seems to be a lot of the instruments that I've been looking at over the last few days that have been moving in one direction have been sort of now tracking back the other way. Certainly the euro has engaged a little bit of a technical rally going on, broken above $1.13 big figure, which is a resistance for the euro, so that's looks like it's improving. Also gold and silver both seem to be on the brink of maybe turning around, and a little bit of a correction as well. Furthermore, it just looks like if you look at the dollar index, for example, that I've got here, just slightly retracing some of that strong move that we saw on Thursday and Friday last week. So maybe it's time for a little bit of a correction on the dollar. In terms of risk and volatility, certainly the VIX continues to dip, so that's generally it seen to be a positive for equity markets. The States last night on Wall Street, we had a slight early weakness on the back of yet another disappointing set of earnings, actually this time from Microsoft, but the S&P clawed its way back higher to 0.3% up on the day. Asian markets mixed overnight, had some Chinese data for industrial profits that fell 8% on the month, so that meant that the Shanghai index was sharply lower. However, the Nikkei remained strong on the just a slightly weaker yen than it had early in the session, although that has turned around again. But the European indices, slight bit of profit taking in the early part of the session. So what have we got to look forward to today? Well, as in a couple of minutes, you've got the UK GDP data. That's forecast to come in at 0.6% on the month, so on the quarter. So that would be slightly suggesting that this rolling over of the economic recovery in the UK is continuing. And certainly, if you look at the PMI data, for example, in the last few months, it would suggest that is the case. So that's at 9:30, and then into the afternoon, you've got the States pretty much dominating proceedings. You've got the durable goods that comes out at 1:30. That's forecast to come in at plus 0.6% month on month. And then until 3 o'clock, you've got the consumer confidence for the US, and that's forecast to climb again to 95.1. That would be the highest since 2007. So a strong number there expected in the US for consumer confidence. And also you've got home sales as well. New home sales expected to actually snap a little bit of a 3-month decline on new home sales, which is interesting because it might suggest that the housing market is just regaining a little bit of its momentum, but certainly it's expected to come in at 454 on the annualized data there. So quite a lot going on today that can impact these markets, but I'll look forward to now, as I spoke to earlier about the silver chart, I'm going to look at that in a little bit more detail, in the fact that this is silver on a daily basis. Interesting that we've had the silver chart bumping underneath this line here, which is 1850, and failed to get above it. And I will just zoom out slightly here to show you the significance of that. That is a big long-term resistance. Having been such a key floor for so long, the breakdown means that is now a basis of resistance, and that has been seen over the last day or so. But also this candlestick here, an attempt to break out above the daily high yesterday of the previous day on Friday, but then closed below, sharply low. That failed on the breakout, and the sellers moved in, and that suggests that the selling pressure is beginning to ramp up a little bit. Maybe a little bit of profit taking. That RSI here back below 70 is a corrective signal. A corrective within this bull run, so maybe that is a sign of profit taking as well. The MACD histogram just losing a little bit of momentum, maybe an early sign of a crossover. Also the stochastics have crossed over, but they're not confirming that move yet, so just a few early signs of a correction in the silver price. Looking on the intraday chart, you've got a small top pattern also that's completed below 1789, which suggests a move back towards sort of like the 1735 area. Interesting that I say 1735, because back on the daily chart, 1735 is pretty much this support here from this old neckline of a base pattern. So it could well be that silver is now coming back towards that neckline support, and it'll have a reassessment of the outlook then. But it certainly looks at the moment on this intraday hourly chart, if I zoom out here, you'll see that throughout this bull run higher, you had the RSI continuing to form support above 30, generally above 30, sort of in the mid 30s, 35 to 40. But yesterday we had a break below that 30 level, so that would suggest that the bear momentum is beginning to grow. Also, look at these MACD lines on the hourly chart, fell well below the neutral line. So I would say that would suggest that the corrective pressures are building on this chart. Also, the 89-hour moving average, which is a really good basis of support on the way up, has turned over and is now falling. So that just adds another element of confirmation to the fact that I think that potentially some corrective move is going to be happening in this chart, and I think back towards 1733 is perfectly possible on this silver chart. In terms of aborting this move, well, you'd certainly, on the daily chart, you'd say an aborted move would come above 1846, which was the reaction high yesterday. But on an intraday basis, you would say 1815 is a fairly strong resistance. But I think just to confirm the fact that the bulls would be back in control would be above 1846. Anyway, I wish you good luck in your trading on silver today, and I will speak to you later. Thank you.